I never thought I'd see the day when she wasn't mine. For years I thought her teasing meant she wanted me, that my jealousy was proof of our unspoken bond. She loved the way I got possessive, the way I glared at any guy who tried to get too close. It was a game one we had played since we were kids. She would push, I would pull. She would laugh, I would frown. And in the end, we both knew she was mine. Until she wasn't. Until the day I stood at the altar, not waiting for her, but waiting for another woman. And the look in her eyes? It was the same look I had worn for years, the sting of losing someone you thought would always belong to you. But by then, it was too late. She loved my jealousy, but she never expected me to move on. Growing up, Emily was the one constant in my life. She wasn't just my childhood best friend, she was my first love, my first obsession. The one person who could get under my skin and make me feel every emotion in the book. She had this playful, mischievous nature, always testing me, always pushing the boundaries. And I let her, because deep down, I believed it meant something. Emily loved making me jealous. She would let other guys flirt with her, watching from the corner of her eye to see how I reacted. And I always did. My fists clenched, my jaw tightened, and I would storm over to stake my claim not by words, not by confessions, but by pulling her away, by reminding her who she belonged to. And she loved it. She would smirk, roll her eyes, but never stop. Because she knew I would never leave. And for the longest time, I thought this game of ours would eventually lead to something real. We were inseparable. Our parents joked that we were like an old married couple. Everyone assumed we'd end up together. And I did too, until the day I realized that no matter how many times I showed her my jealousy, no matter how much I wanted her, Emily never truly saw me as hers. It happened in our senior year of college. I had planned everything. A confession. A real one. Not through possessiveness, not through anger, but through words. I was finally going to tell her that I loved her, that I had always loved her, that she was the only one who had ever mattered. But before I could say anything, she blindsided me. I think I'm going to say yes to Ryan. Ryan. The guy who had been flirting with her for months. The guy she always teased me about. The one she swore meant nothing. I stared at her, waiting for the punchline. Waiting for her to laugh and say, "Relax, I was just messing with you." But she didn't. Instead, she looked at me with excitement in her eyes. Excitement. That was the moment I realized the truth. I had been fooling myself. I thought Emily wanted me to be jealous because she loved me. That she was waiting for me to claim her, to say something, to finally break the unspoken rule between us. But she wasn't. She had never been waiting for me. She was waiting for something else. Someone else. And in that moment, something inside me shifted. For the first time in my life, I let her go. I forced a smile, nodded, said something generic like, "Ryan's a great guy. You should go for it." And then I walked away, my heart cracking with every step. She didn't chase me. She never did. I spent the next few years pretending I had moved on, convincing myself I didn't care. I buried myself in work, in meaningless relationships, in anything that would keep my mind off Emily and the way she had never truly been mine. And then, one day, I met Sophia. She was nothing like Emily. Where Emily was unpredictable and wild, Sophia was steady and kind. Where Emily loved to play games, Sophia was straightforward. She didn't make me jealous, she made me feel safe. And for the first time in my life, I let myself love someone else. 3 years later, I proposed to Sophia. The wedding date was set. Everything was perfect. Until Emily came back into my life. And for the first time, she was the one who was jealous. This builds up the emotional weight of the past, establishing the protagonist's deep connection with Emily while setting up the tension for the upcoming conflict. I hadn't seen Emily in years. Not in person, at least. Sure, I'd hear about her through mutual friends, see glimpses of her life on social media, the places she traveled, the guys she dated, the way she seemed to be living life without a single regret. And honestly, I thought I was over her. Until the night of my engagement party. Sophia had planned everything an intimate gathering with our closest friends and family, celebrating the next chapter of our lives. I should have been focused on her, on us. But then I turned, and there she was. Emily. Standing at the entrance, looking right at me. For a moment, I thought I was imagining it. Maybe my mind was playing tricks on me, but no, she was really there. And she looked different. Gone was the playful, teasing Emily I had known. The one who always carried herself with effortless confidence. The one who never looked rattled. This Emily? She looked nervous. Like she was out of place. Like she shouldn't be here. Like she wasn't sure whether she had made a mistake by coming. I swallowed hard, my heart slamming against my ribs. I had no idea how she even knew about the engagement party. I certainly hadn't invited her. Then, before I could say anything, Sophia appeared at my side, her fingers wrapping around my arm. "There you are," she said warmly, pressing a kiss to my cheek. "People want to congratulate you." She hadn't noticed Emily yet. But Emily? She definitely noticed her. I saw it in the way her eyes dropped to Sophia's hand on my arm, the way her lips parted slightly, like she wanted to say something but couldn't. And then, before I could stop myself, I did the one thing I swore I wouldn't do. I introduced them. Sophia," I said, forcing my voice to stay steady. "This is Emily. We grew up together." Sophia smiled politely, extending her hand. "Oh, it's so nice to meet you. I've heard so much about you." Emily's lips curved into something that resembled a smile, but her eyes, they told another story. "You have?" she said, her voice unreadable. Sophia nodded. "Yeah, Aaron's mentioned you a few times." I felt Emily's gaze flicker to mine, as if silently asking, "What exactly have you told her?" And the truth? I had barely spoken about Emily to Sophia. Not because I was hiding anything, but because talking about Emily always felt like reopening a wound that never fully healed. But in that moment, standing between the woman I had loved for years and the woman I was about to marry, I felt the past and present collide in the worst possible way. Sophia had excused herself to greet more guests, leaving me alone with Emily. For a second, neither of us spoke. Then, Emily let out a small breath, shaking her head. "Wow. Engaged?" She laughed, but there was no humor in it. I mean, I knew. Obviously. I saw the pictures online, but seeing it in person? She lifted her eyes to mine. "It's different." I crossed my arms. "Yeah. It is." She hesitated, her fingers fidgeting with the strap of her purse. "Aaron, She stopped. Took a breath. Then, softer. "I didn't think I'd feel this way." Something inside me tightened. Feel what way? Her throat bobbed as she swallowed. Like I'm losing something I never realized I wanted. My stomach dropped. She wasn't joking. She wasn't teasing. For the first time in my life, Emily was being honest. I searched her face, waiting for the smirk, the usual glint of mischief in her eyes that told me this was just another game. But it wasn't. She meant it. She loved my jealousy. But now, she was the one feeling it. Emily's words stuck to me like a shadow. Like I'm losing something I never realized I wanted. What the hell was that supposed to mean? I should have brushed it off. Should have told myself that she was just caught up in the moment. That she was only reacting this way because I was finally out of reach. But deep down, I knew better. Emily never said things she didn't mean. The entire night I felt her presence lingering, even when she wasn't near me. Every time I laughed with Sophia, every time I looked into her warm, trusting eyes, I felt Emily's gaze from across the room. Watching. Studying. I couldn't focus. My mind was a mess. At one point I slipped outside for air, hoping the night breeze would clear my head. It didn't, because a few minutes later, Emily followed me. I heard the click of her heels before I even turned. "You always do this," she said softly. I frowned. "Do what?" "Leave when things get too much." She stepped closer, arms crossed. "I remember when we were kids, you'd always storm off when I pushed you too far." I scoffed. That's because you loved pushing me too far. She smiled small, wistful. Yeah, I did. Silence settled between us, thick with everything unsaid. I should have walked away. Gone back inside. Back to Sophia. Back to the life I had built without Emily. But instead, I asked the question that had been burning in my mind since she first walked in tonight. Why are you here, Emily? She exhaled slowly. I don't know. That's a lie. Her lips parted slightly, but no words came out. Instead, she just really looked at me, like she was searching for something she had lost. I hated that it still affected me. I guess she finally said, voice barely above a whisper. I thought I'd be okay with this, with you moving on. I clenched my jaw. Well, I did. Her eyes flickered with something pain? Regret? I didn't know anymore. I thought you'd always be there, she admitted. No matter what, no matter how many times I messed up, or pushed you away, or chose someone else. I cut in, my voice sharper than I intended. She flinched, but didn't deny it. A bitter chuckle escaped my lips. Yeah, that's the thing, Emily. You always thought I'd be there, that no matter what you did, I'd wait. She didn't speak, so I did. But I stopped waiting. Her breath hitched. I ran a hand through my hair, letting out a humorless laugh. You know what's funny? I did wait. For years. I let you toy with me, let you make me think we were something more. And for what? For you to realize you wanted me after I moved on? Her eyes glistened under the dim streetlight. I didn't mean to, but you did, I cut in. And now, you don't get to do this. You don't get to come back and act like I belong to you. Emily looked away, blinking rapidly. I sighed, dragging a hand down my face. You said you didn't realize what you wanted until now. I swallowed hard. But Emily, what if I realized I didn't want you anymore? Her lips parted, and for the first time in our entire messed up history, she had nothing to say. And for the first time, I walked away first. I thought walking away from Emily that night would be the end of it. That whatever unresolved feelings she had would stay in the past, where they belonged. But I was wrong. Because 2 days later, I got a message that changed everything. It was from Emily. Emily, we need to talk. Please, just once. I stared at my phone, my pulse kicking up. I shouldn't have responded. I shouldn't have cared. But something about the way she said please made my fingers move before my brain could stop them. Me. There's nothing left to say. 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then reappeared again. Finally, her reply came. Emily, it's about Sophia. Sophia. A wave of unease crept up my spine. I read the message again. And again. Was this just another one of Emily's games? Another way to pull me back in? Or was there something I didn't know? I hesitated. Then, before I could talk myself out of it, I typed back. Me. What about her? Her reply came almost instantly. Emily, meet me. I'll explain everything. Every logical part of me screamed, no. That this was a mistake. That Emily would say anything to get in my head. But that single name Sophia had already cracked my resolve. And that was how I found myself sitting across from Emily at a quiet cafe later that night, my arms crossed as I demanded, what is this about? Emily looked nervous, anxious, like she wasn't sure how to say whatever it was she had brought me here for. She hesitated. Erina, just say it, I snapped, my patience running thin. She took a deep breath. And then, finally she's not who you think she is. My jaw tightened. What the hell is that supposed to mean? Emily swallowed hard. I didn't plan to tell you this, I swear. But after I saw you with her at the party, I couldn't stay quiet. I glared. Emily, stop talking in circles and say it. She exhaled shakily. Then, the words that fell from her lips shattered everything. She was seeing someone else before you proposed. I froze. My heart slammed against my ribs. What? I breathed. Emily's voice was soft, but firm. Sophia. She was in a relationship before you proposed to her. That's not. I shook my head. That's not a crime, Emily. We weren't engaged yet. Her eyes darkened. You don't get it. Then make me get it. She leaned in, her voice dropping lower. She was seeing him after you started dating. It wasn't some ex from before you. It overlapped, Aaron. A sharp, slicing pain twisted in my chest. No. No. Sophia wouldn't. I clenched my fists. You're lying. Emily's eyes turned glassy. I wish I was. I wanted to get up, to walk away, to tell her she was just trying to manipulate me again. But I couldn't move, because deep down, something in her voice told me she wasn't making this up. Who? My voice came out hoarse. She hesitated before saying his name, and when she did, everything inside me collapsed. Because I knew him. And that was when I realized this wasn't just about Emily anymore. This was about Sophia. And the woman I was about to marry wasn't who I thought she was. I sat in my car for almost an hour, gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. Emily's words echoed in my mind, looping like a broken record. She was seeing him after you started dating. I wanted to ignore it. Wanted to believe that Emily was just trying to mess with me. That this was her way of making sure I never truly moved on. But no matter how many times I told myself that, the seed of doubt had already been planted. And it was growing. So I did what any sane, rational person would do. I drove to Sophia's apartment. My heart pounded in my chest as I knocked on her door. She opened it with a soft smile, her eyes lighting up. Aaron, what are you doing here? I just stared at her. She looked perfect hair tied back in a loose bun, wearing one of my old hoodies, smelling like vanilla and something warm and familiar. For a moment, I almost forgot why I was here. Almost. Then, I stepped inside. Who is he? Her smile faltered. What? I turned to face her, my chest tightening. Who is he, Sophia? Confusion flickered across her face. Aaron, what are you talking about? I took a deep breath, forcing myself to stay calm. I know. About the other guy. About the fact that you were seeing someone else after we started dating. Her eyes widened, and for the first time since I had met her, she looked afraid. That was all the confirmation I needed. There was no anger. No outrage. No immediate denial. Just silence. And silence was worse than any lie. I exhaled sharply, my stomach twisting. Tell me I'm wrong. She swallowed, looking away. Aaron, tell me I'm wrong, Sophia. Her lips parted, but no words came out. Something inside me cracked. I let out a short, bitter laugh. Wow. She finally looked at me, her eyes pleading. Aaron, listen, who was it? My voice was eerily calm, even as my hands shook. She hesitated. I stepped closer. Who, Sophia? Her shoulders slumped. And then Daniel. The name punched the air from my lungs. Daniel, my friend, my coworker. The guy who had stood beside me, smiling, when I told him I was going to propose. The guy who had hugged me at my engagement party. The guy I had trusted. My entire body went numb. How long? My voice didn't even sound like mine anymore. Sophia's eyes filled with tears. Aaron, please how? Long. She exhaled shakily. Then 5 months. The room tilted. 5 months. We had been together for a year and a half, which meant, oh my God. My stomach churned. You were with him while you were with me. She flinched. It wasn't like that. Then explain it to me. My voice cracked. Explain how you could smile at me, kiss me, tell me you loved me, while you were screwing my friend behind my back. Tears spilled down her cheeks. I was going to end it? When? I snapped. Before or after I gave you a damn ring. She let out a choked sob. I love you, Aaron. I chose you. I stared at her, something inside me shattering beyond repair. No, I whispered. You don't get to say that, because love isn't a choice you make after betraying someone. Love is the absence of betrayal. She wiped at her tears. Please, we can fix this. I shook my head, stepping back. No. You can fix this. I'm done. Her face crumbled. Aaron, but I was already walking away. Because love wasn't about winning. It was about trust. And she had destroyed that the moment she let someone else into our story. I didn't remember leaving Sophia's apartment. One moment, I was standing there, staring at the woman I thought I'd spend forever with. The next, I was outside, cold air biting at my skin, my feet moving on their own. I walked for hours. The city blurred past me, cars, streetlights, people, just noise in the background of a life that suddenly didn't feel like mine anymore. I should have been angry. I should have wanted revenge, but all I felt was empty. Like someone had ripped my heart out and left a hollow space in its place. Sophia and I were done. I knew that. But what haunted me wasn't just her betrayal. It was him, Daniel, a friend, a coworker, someone I had trusted with everything. And he had been with her for 5 months. I clenched my fists, my nails digging into my palms. I wasn't going to let this slide. The confrontation the next day, I showed up at the office. I walked straight to Daniel's desk, my pulse pounding. He was laughing with some colleagues, completely unaware that his entire world was about to crash down. When he saw me, his smile faltered. Aaron? I didn't stop. Didn't think so. Just grabbed him by the collar and slammed him against the nearest wall. The entire office went silent. Gasps. Whispers. But I didn't care. 5 months, I said, my voice low, shaking with rage. Daniel's eyes widened. Aaron, I shoved him. 5 months, Daniel. People started pulling out their phones, recording, but I didn't care. Because this wasn't about them. This was about me. The text message notification on a phone screen that reads, "We need to talk. He can't know." And the man who had betrayed me in the worst possible way. You smiled in my face, I spat. Sit next to me. Listen to me talk about how much I loved her while you were screwing her behind my back. He had the audacity to look guilty. Man, I never wanted to hurt you. I let out a bitter laugh. Oh, you just accidentally ended up in my girlfriend's bed? My fiancée's bed? He didn't answer. Because we both knew the truth. I stepped closer, lowering my voice so only he could hear. I want you to remember this moment, Daniel, I said. Because it's the last time you'll ever see me. You don't exist to me anymore. You're nothing. She's nothing. His throat bobbed. Aaron. I didn't let him finish. I turned and walked away. And this time, I didn't look back. Moving on, the days that followed were a blur. I blocked Sophia. Deleted every photo, every message. She tried calling, texting, even showing up at my door. But I didn't answer. Because she didn't deserve a response. I told myself I was fine. That I had moved on. But the truth? Some nights, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering, did she ever really love me? Or was I just convenient? I hated that she still had that power over me. So I made a decision. I wasn't going to let this break me. I wasn't going to let them win. I started going out more. Hit the gym. Focused on work. And slowly, piece by piece, I started putting myself back together. One night, at a bar with some friends, I met her. She wasn't like Sophia. Her laugh was real. Her eyes held no secrets. And for the first time in months, I felt something again. Maybe it was too soon. Maybe I wasn't ready. But as she smiled at me, leaning in just a little closer, I realized something. My past doesn't define me. And my story wasn't over yet.